Good morning, afternoon, or night, depending on where and when you are watching this week's edition of TCS Student News. I'm McKeever.
And I'm Daj'a. Let's get started with the news. First up, President Donald Trump holds a meeting about video games and violence. U.S. President Donald Trump has met with video game company to discuss violent content. The meeting came last month after a shooting at a school in Florida which left 17 people dead. This is not the first meeting that has happened on this issue. President Donald Trump thinks that the violent games are shaping young people's thoughts. The game industry thinks otherwise. They believe that there is no evidence to suggest a link between violent games and real-life violent actions. Trump thinks that the violent games are too graphic because it shows how you can kill people and have sexual intercourse. He doesn't think that should be in a game. Trump wrote on Twitter, video game violence and glorification must be stopped. It is creating monsters in our youth. The game industry has defended itself against these claims. It believes its product do not provoke real-life violence. Video games are enjoyable around the world, and numerous authorities and scientific studies have found no connection between games and real-life violence.
In other news related to the U.S., the new aluminum and steel tariffs have been causing more harm than good for the country. The EU, a union made from 28 different European countries, has made threats to put tariffs on U.S. goods due to the tariffs put in place by President Donald Trump. The EU's trade commissioner has been talking with the countries in the union about placing tariffs on American bourbon, peanut butter, cranberries, and orange juice, which could amount to the United States losing billions of dollars on exports of just these products to the EU alone over the next couple of years. These tariffs also affect one of our largest allies, Great Britain, since they gained $360 million in steel exports to the United States. Thus far, only Mexico and Canada are exempt from these tariffs, due to the countries being in a trade agreement called the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA for short. Australia hopes to gain exemption from these tariffs as well due to it and the United States having extremely close ties in both trade and military. Thus far, I feel as though these tariffs have caused more harm to other industries and the U.S. in general than they have helped.
Speaking of American business and trade, Toys R Us will close or sell its 885 stores in the U.S. after failing to find a buyer, putting about 30,000 jobs under threat. The toy store was already in the process of closing one-fifth of its shops after filing for bankruptcy protection last year. Toys R Us will also close all its UK stores by the end of April. The UK collapse will put more than 3,000 people out of work. The company could bring back 200 of the best-performing U.S. stores if talks to combine these with its Canadian operations prove successful. The company is trying to sell Canadian and international operations in Asia and Europe, including Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Australia, France, Poland, Portugal, and Spain are considering their options.
The Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or FARC for short, were once a revolutionary group within Colombia that was formed in 1964. After 50 years of conflict, with a peace deal being struck between the government and Colombia and FARC, the once rebel group is now its own political party in the Colombian government. So why is FARC in the news? Well, Colombia just had its congressional elections, and this is the first time that FARC is running as a political party. Although FARC received 0.5% of the total votes, it will still receive 10 seats in government, 5 in the Senate, and 5 in the House. These seats, however, will cause large problems within the government, since the highly conservative parties who oppose the deal with FARC getting the seats have won a majority within the government. Many people support the removal of FARC rebels from the government because FARC, when they were a militant group, killed hundreds of thousands of people with little to no repercussions. We'll just have to see what happens within the Colombian government as time goes on. Now, moving on to everyone's favorite part of the news, it's time for TCS News. On Thursday, March 8th, the school held another sponsor meeting. During the meeting, the sponsors were able to voice their concerns and suggestions to the school. Important topics such as student workloads, graduations, upcoming events, and the sponsor program as a whole were discussed. This was another one of the meetings where report cards were passed out as well. Thank you to all the people who made this possible, and thank you to all the sponsors for coming to the meeting.
On Friday, we had a special visitor for our Conversation With series, Mr. Ryan Dunford, a special agent for Supreme Court of the United States Protection Detail. He talked to the class about how important his job is and what he has to do during the year. I really enjoyed the talk. It was very informative. I personally don't think I will be able to do his job. On behalf of TCS, we would like to thank Mr. Ryan Dunford for taking the time out his day and explaining his career.
On Friday, we also had a visit from Major Gibson. He and his fellow officers brought in bags filled with healthful foods for the students at TCS to take home. The bags were filled with canned goods, such as chicken noodle soup and green beans, and snacks such as applesauce and granola bars. We give a large thanks to Major Gibson and his colleagues for providing the food. On Saturday, March 10th, the Circle of Love held its scavenger hunt for TCS. The hunt officially began at 12 p.m. and ended at 4 p.m. for those who did the walking part of the scavenger hunt, and ended at 6 p.m. for those who did the driving part of the scavenger hunt. The event was extremely fun, and in the end we even had a raffle, one for small prizes such as gift cards, and another for large prize baskets. I personally enjoyed the day a lot, and I had a lot of fun with my classmates and teachers during the event. A large shout out goes to the Circle of Love for working for days on end to make this possible. From everyone here at TCS, I say thank you, Circle of Love, for all the support you have shown to the school over the past school year.
On Tuesday, the Earth Science class had another lab with CSI, or the Community School Initiative. In this lab, we learned about the rock cycle and how it happens. We represented this through chocolate. Also, we learned how to calculate density using rock and water. Thank you so much for coming in, CSI. We really appreciate it.
On Tuesday, we had visits from two special groups of people. We had guidance counselors from St. Ignatius of Loyola Academy come in to observe our world history class to get a feel for the school. Next, we had Baltimore Women's Giving Circle, or the BWGC for short, come in and talk with the students. The BWGC is one of TCS's cherished donors, and we thank you for coming in and talking with us.
On Monday, we had a special Skype conversation with Mr. Larry Groves. Mr. Larry informed the students about his mother time during the Holocaust. Laurie's mom was a survivor of the Auschwitz death camp. She even survived the awful gas chamber in Auschwitz due to a malfunction. In honor of Mr. Laurie's conversation with the school, we went to visit the Holocaust Museum. At the museum, we saw many graphic photos and videos on how Jews was treated by the Nazi regime. This informed the students on why we could never let something this disturbing happen again. After visiting the museum, I was very angry. I was angry due to the fact that people didn't care about how they was mistreating Jews. It's a shame knowing Jews was mistreated because of their religion. Marcus, how do you feel?
This was an absolutely moving experience. People should never be treated like this just because of their religion.
On Thursday, TCS had its second shadow day. We had 5 students ranging from other high schoolers to graduating 8th graders come in to see what the school was about. They spent most of their day with us from the beginning of the day at 7:40 a.m. until the end of the day, 2:30 p.m. We're here at TCX to send a big thank you to the shadow students who came to see what our school is about.
Well, that's all we have this time for TCS Student News this week. Once again, I'm Marcus McKeever.
And I'm Daj'a White. Thank you for watching this week's broadcast. We'll see you next week.